All right, you guys, good morning. Sorry for the late start. I was out pruning blackberries. And if you haven't pruned your blackberries yet, they're probably like 15 feet long. So you got to prune that new growth for next year. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess. So got out there before it got too hot. It was approaching 100 degrees yesterday out here. So, fortunately, I got that done before the heat wave hits. Now, if you made it to today's show, we are going to expose Barack Obama and his role in the spam demic. And this could possibly explain why he's sweating in iPetGoat 2. We're going to link all this into iPetGoat 2 because I found documented evidence that includes Obama in all this as well. He was the one who actually initiated the very first studies into M to the R to the N to the A research before an imminent spam demic. Now, understand that censorship is at an all-time high right now, and we need to be speaking in code today in order for this video to get sent out to everyone. So to all the critics who say, oh, you only pick on Trump. No, we look at everybody because they're all part of it. It is the deep state. It's both sides working together. We've all seen the images of them chumming it up and laughing it up at these funerals and stuff when they think that when they don't realize that the camera is picking up their every move. You can almost hear what they're saying. They're just laughing at us. They're like two divorce attorneys playing golf after they just pillaged all the money out of two people who were supposed to stay together for life. It's sickening, this reality we live in, but this is the truth. And all these people are like former attorneys. They're surrounded by attorneys. This is who they really are. And every once in a while, the mask will come off. So today we're going to get into Barack Obama. Now, if you're confused about the coded language that we use, there are regulars that come to the channel and will help you. All you got to do is ask in the chat and they will help you decipher what I'm saying. And that way you can stay on track. Now I'm going to throw quite a bit of information at you today. And first thing we need to do is get caught up on everything. We need to show you the beginning from the end, what we know so far in iPetGoat 2 and how one of you actually cracked the code. I'm just presenting this. One of you was the one that cracked the code on this. So this is iPetGoat 2. So here's what we know so far. This imagery in the background has to be IV or IVF, in vitro fertilization. It's a play on words. Here you can see the ivy leaves in the background. Now, if you don't know what you're looking at, this is an animated film called iPetGoat 2 from 2012. And ever since, it's been basically foreshadowing events that had not happened yet. This is why we're looking at this. So we've got the IVF play on words on the wall. This rabbit is actually tagged. That means that the rabbit is being bred, I guess is the word. Fertility. This is all about fertility ritual. The tag on the right ear means that this is for identification. As you can see, it's also a dark, evil rabbit with a evil looking eye on it. So we've got fertility confirmation, not only in the background, but also in these weird golem-like figures. These clay-like figures. And you can see that there's twinning happening. Now, we covered all this in previous shows. I'm just giving you guys a summary. There's these two conjoined twins. There's these two twins in the background. There's these two sitting like Indian style. There are mirrors of one another. Here's an as above, so below. And these two figures on the ground on each side. So this is mirrored. And then you've got this barbed wire covering them. One of you mentioned that and saw this. That has to mean that these children are in some kind of camp somewhere, imprisoned. Now, tomorrow's show is going to blow your mind because we're going to talk about how Putin, they literally admit that they're stealing Ukrainian children. They say to bring them to safety. but many people believe they're being trafficked. There was a letter written to Putin by Melania talking about the missing children. Putin opened the letter. I mean, you guys, this is crazy. We'll cover that tomorrow. I don't want to get off track here now. So we have fertility confirmed. We have the fruit of the womb. She's holding the apple in her womb. The Bible says fruit is our children or offspring. The apple held in the womb. And she's inside this symmetry circle. The CERN Symmetry Opera with the twin dancers dancing in the magic circle in the frozen landscape. One black, one white, black and white checkerboard floors. The two symmetry dancers dancing in the circle, black and white. One on the outside, one on the inside. So CERN has something to do with all this as well. And then we found the location of all this. So we discussed the symbolism. Now let's look at the location. And we confirmed that it had to be Holodomor. What am I talking about? This is the Holodomor Memorial in Ukraine. There is a girl in a dress that looks almost the same. She's holding roses, and they put apples. And she's in a golden circle. Well, she's golden, kind of bronze, copper, but this could be golden. This is the Holodomor Memorial in Kiev, Ukraine. And it seems to match up. She's got a rose in her hair. She's holding an apple, and she's inside of a bronze or golden circle. So now this is starting to match up. Now, not only are these monuments in Kiev, Ukraine, this girl is copied, standing on the circle in Canada, all over Canada, actually. And the makers of iPet Goat 2 are from Canada. So we've got ourselves alignments, don't we? Now, who is this girl? Well, she represents the starvation. The starvation that happened in Ukraine into 1933 by the Russians. And the apples and the roses represent some kind of like food that they were able to scavenge or something. So, what else is going on? Well, the last confirmation I think we had was the door that's ajar in the background. The exit door is ajar. Hold the door, which of course we saw in Game of Thrones. Hold the door, Holodomor. It's all connected. Then, at that point, we surmised that the Yahtzee genetic research might have been going on in Ukraine during these years. This could have had something to do with it. The genes of the side that happened in 1933 where all these people starved. So that's the summary so far of what we found. So what is the new information? Well, let me check in with you guys. See if there's any questions before we get into the brand new breaking information. Now, I don't know if anyone else had discovered that Obama was working on M to the R to the N to the A research. I don't know if anyone realized that he was the one that initiated yet. I don't watch a lot of content of other truth channels anyway. So I wouldn't know if this has already been discovered, but we're going to cover it today because one of you in the comments on Friday unlocked another truth. Because after this apple rolls across the floor, you saw that it rolled over C7. Turn the music off. C, there's a 7 and there's a C. Let's back this up. C7. Now, what is this all about? Well, one of you thought that C7 might have something to do with genetics, since, of course, we're talking all about IVF in the scene here, and you were absolutely right. And this goes all the way back to Obama. Obama was the first president to fund M to the R to the N to the A technology through DARPA. The very technology that we now know today as the Calvid Smack the Nations. Yes, it was Trump who started warp speed, but before that, it was Obama. Now, it gets more specific. Remember the quote, race to make the smack scene, unquote? Remember all that? Well, remember they had companies that they wanted us to believe were in competition to be the company to come up with this breaking novel technology. Remember this? Well, guess what? It literally says here that Obama actually funded Moderna through DARPA before Trump ever even came to office. Let's read some of this, you guys. DARPA plays a significant role in the foundation research and development of the M to the R to the the rest, which were later used in development of the what. Beginning in 2011, DARPA invested in nucleic acid smack the nations based on the hypothesis of delivering genes to encode antigens in the immune system. In 2013, DARPA awarded $25 million to the Moderna to help establish the messenger platform. This laid the groundwork for later development of the Smack the Nations. In 2017, DARPA launched the Spamdemic Prevention Platform. That was 3 years before COVID. DARPA's investment in the research were made with military applications in mind, such as protecting troops from biological threats. And this is where we get into the secret labs that were in Ukraine. Now, I could not find any connection, but they tell us there were no biological weapons labs in Ukraine. We were just researching in case of biological threats. Now, here's Obama's involvement. Obama invested in the research when he was in office, $25 million to DARPA for the research. This went directly to Moderna, followed by $125 million by BARDA in 2015, just before Trump came in office. By the end of Obama administration, the SMAC scenes and therapeutics were being tested in animals and humans. Now, I plugged in these research labs in Ukraine, and they say there's no connection. But as you can see here, they literally say that they were looking at, it was a peaceful operation in these labs. We were just looking to make sure we could detect outbreaks and dangerous pathogens and how to deal with it. So they've covered their paper trail on that. Now, what else do we have here? Here's another article. This one's dated 2021 when the smack scenes spamdemic hit in the early 2020. DARPA's 10 years of research on the smack scenes. So they mention all of that here. This is more confirmation that Obama was involved. This is the whole history of it. It was all a military application. I can't even believe that we found this. Here's a Bill Foster, congressman, bragging about it, highlights Obama's contribution to rapid smack the nation development in the hearing with Fauci. Today in a hearing, this was 2020, bragging about it. Early investments made in the Obama administration, directly responsible for the success of the smack scenes. Now, why aren't we hearing about this? Why didn't the left come out and say, oh, Trump's bragging about being the father of the smack scenes, but who really was the father of them? Who was the real father of all of this? It was Obama. And they could have easily, that's for tomorrow's show. They could have easily pulled the card, couldn't they have? They could have got so many votes. They could have got everything, couldn't they have? They could have been heroes, but they chose not to. Why? Because they're all working together. Why didn't Biden, who we all know Obama was working with Biden holding the puppet strings during his presidency. Why didn't Biden say, Trump likes to brag a lot about being the father of the smack of the nation, but originally it was Obama? Why didn't they pull the card? Because they're all on the same team. They're like lawyers working together. Now, I'm in the chat, and then we're going to get into something even more crazy. I'm surprised they haven't knocked us off yet. I think everybody's off on the weekends. All of the bots and trolls that like to kick us off the internet. What you guys can do right now is share this video, thumbs it up, because I'm about to go into something even more profound, and everybody on this channel needs to see this. So, is this why Obama is sweating? Because of this truth that's now come to light, that we just so happen to be fully prepared with a cure to what we were told was a random lab leak from China 6 years before it happened. Now I'm going to show you how it targets people who are old. Now I'm going to show you how this targets people that are old. Let's circle back to the C7. C7 is the gene that encodes a particular protein. The C7 on the floor encodes a protein, which is part of a complex, listen carefully, an essential component of immunity. The C7 is part of other proteins called the membrane attack complex. They call it MAC for short, MAC, membrane attack complex. And the membrane attack complex, here it is right here, looks like a lotus flower. I wish I was making all this up, you guys. Here's the C7. As you can see, it's this long, light blue, teal, blue, whatever. It comes together with C6 and C5b, and then C8 and C9. And then it starts stacking the C9 all around in a circle like an opening lotus flower. It goes to the pathogen that's in the body, and it basically, this creates a hole which spills out the contents of the pathogen, the cell of the pathogen, any pathogen that attacks the body. This is your immune system. Let's take a look at this video. This is insane.
Molecules are recruited to the complex, forming a larger, more stable pore that causes significant osmotic imbalance.
Causes osmotic imbalance in the cell wall of the pathogen.
This results in the complete destruction of the pathogen as its membrane is lysed. The MAC, therefore, plays a crucial role.
Now I'll put a link to this video for those of you that are science-minded, but hopefully I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible, because when we go back to iPetGoat 2, we literally see the MAC complex play out. Now, let me show you this picture first, and then we'll go back to iPetGoat. Here is the lotus flower of the MAC complex. You cannot make this up. There's the C7 central component. It opens up the lotus in the cell wall. Remember all the videos we did where I was telling you guys that they want to break through the veil? They want to break through the cell wall. And I thought that was a metaphor. Well, here we are. And now, man, I keep clicking on the wrong video. And now, here we are. iPetGoat 2, C7. The lotus opens up the cell wall. Out of the Mac. What are you talking about, Casey? That's an apple. Apple Mac. And now we see the spiritual connection to all this, don't we? Because mRNA was always about the twinning. The twinning in iPad Code 2. And this is what we've been saying all along, ever since that symmetry opera, one black and one white. I told you this was about the twin spirits. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Now, this is Obama's foot. So it's basically this whole thing is exposing Ukraine. That something happened in Ukraine. That was the infancy of the spamdemic, the infancy of the M to the R to the N to the A, the infancy of biological defense, they called it. Now, here is where the plot thickens because C7 immunity, the MAC complex, is not good when it comes to COVID. Now, what am I talking about? Well, here's the study. It says right here, this MAC response, immune response, is part of the cytokine storm that causes a worse reaction. And this is why the people died. This study explains it. It's a little bit complicated, but the abstract explains it. The flood of these lotus flower MAC complexes, of which C7 is part of, causes cell damage to other parts of the body. So too much MAC is not good. And people that have too much MAC, too many lotus flowers, seem to have negative outcomes with COVID. But if you don't have enough MAC, people like that get recurrent infections like meningitis and other things. So you need some, but they're saying if you have too much, it gave negative outcomes. Now, who are the people that have too much MAC? You ready for this? Let's read this first. While the complement systems and its component, the membrane attack complex, the MAC, play a vital role in host defense against pathogens, including VIDCO, excessive or dysregulated activation can have detrimental effects in patients. Now, if someone's reviewing this video, we're just reading studies, putting the puzzle pieces together. These are all the things that happen for people that make too much membrane attack complex. And guess who they are? The elderly. People with age-related macular degeneration make too much MAC. People with neurodegenerative diseases make too much MAC. People who are older, who maybe their kidneys don't work as well, are constantly making too much MAC. The elderly. Now, the next logical question was, did some of these early Obama mRNA trials happen in Ukraine? And I couldn't find a direct connection other than those bioweapons labs during Obama that they still claim are only for peaceful purposes to defend against Russia. That is the official story. Now, there was one DARPA individual who did go to Ukraine during Trump's presidency, but the purpose there was unclear. They said that he was there for information technology or something like that. But it was a DARPA guy, a guy who served under Obama and served under Bush before him. His name is Anthony Tether. And again, I couldn't find any information linking him to the early M to the R to the N to the A program under Obama, but he was with DARPA and he did go to Ukraine. Now, of course, there's many reasons why that could have happened, but that is the gist of it. Now, let's recap, and then we'll finish off the show with me in the chat answering any questions you might have. Here's the recap. We have in our immune system a Lotus-like immune response called a MAC. It literally opens up a portal, opens up a hole into the cell wall. C7 is a central component, a central gene in it. And all of this appears in iPad Go 2. C7, the Lotus opening the cell wall. You could almost look at the floor here as the cell wall. You could also look at the apple as the cell wall, right? The apple's opening. An apple is kind of a metaphor for a cell. It's got a nucleus, which is seeds. It's got a skin. The worm going through the apple is like the cell wall of a cell, right? The twin seeds come up out of it. The MAC complex opens into the cell. Obama is on the other side of this, and all of this suggests that this could relate to the M to the R to the NA research that Obama did before Trump ever came into office. And this all suggests some kind of possible foreknowledge of future events, specifically the spam-demic. And that is the summary of what we found. This video should go to every single person in the truth community, but it's up to you guys to do it because YouTube will not. Share this in your Facebook groups, share this on other channels. Obama started the MRNA program. Now, tomorrow, we're going to recap this missing children meme that's happening right now in the mainstream media. Apparently, Putin is abducting Ukrainian children, and they're not even denying it. So we'll figure out why. We'll figure out what Melania had to say about it. Also, there were 88 children that went missing in Virginia, but the authorities say, oh, nothing to see here. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. We're also going to do a replay on a few short videos that we did back in 2017, 2018 that actually ended up happening later during the Trump presidency and now. I have about 3 of those videos. Those are the ones I kept accidentally clicking on during the stream today. And so I will be able to show you those 3 confirmations of things that had not happened yet. There were quite a few actually. And I realized during that era of the channel, 2017, 2018, that I was not labeling my titles correctly. You know, YouTube is strange. Like, you have to make sure your title is labeled correctly. You have to have the metadata correct. You have to have your tags correct. There's like a little secret formula, and they don't tell anybody about it except for the people that they want to be successful. And the rest of us have to figure it out. It's actually very complex to run a YouTube channel. And that doesn't even include true talent, true knowledge, true spiritual inspiration. When you add all that together, and then the technical side of YouTube, it is a miracle that people can even produce videos and be actually seen by the rest of the space. It's a literal miracle. So if you're starting a new YouTube channel, don't get discouraged. This is just the way it is. Our channel has been frozen for about 4 years now, has not grown, even though we come every day with this profound information that should reach the masses, and it never does. Breaking information, new information that no one else is covering, not every day, but at least once a week, and they will not let this channel break through. So I went back and I looked at some of our videos from 2017, 2018, and I realized we had a lot of stuff that nobody can find because the title, I tried to make it bland so that it cannot be found by the algorithms, but then when it's not found by the algorithms, when you search it, you can't find it either, right? So I relabeled some of those. Many of them were film decodes that I had labeled, you know, with just a bland label without the film name in it. So I tried to include the film names in those titles so they could be more easily searchable. So I'll be going through the channel and trying to do that. Now, the danger of that is the video can be flagged for copyright. And so therefore, by doing that, I'm opening myself up to possible trouble down the line. But at this point, it is what it is. A lot of you guys come into the comments and you're like, Casey, you need to decode this. I'm like, I already decoded it. And I'll try to, if I have time, I'll put a link, but oftentimes I don't have time. So I'll just say I already decoded that. And then I hope that you go and search it and find it. But I've decoded almost every single film that's come out over the past 10 years that's of any significance. Literally, we have 3,500 videos across my 3 or 4 channels. Some of those are repeats, but a lot of them are not. So we've decoded a lot of films, you guys. All right, I'm in the chat now, finally. What a trip, right? What a trip. Obama. So what's going on in here? Dr. Savage says, American Eagle is owned by a Jewish family. The goal is to keep the divide going, to keep stirring the pot, to keep the whole thing going. That's how they're able to roll tanks and troops through American cities, because everyone's arguing about race issues. So Gates thinking about putting microchips in drinks and food. Yep. And the smack scenes. All right. It'll be interesting to see how the closed caption translates the code word cow vid. I bet you it'll convert it back to the real thing. I bet you it will, because they know. Unbelievable. Thanks, you guys, for your efforts. You guys are at the front lines of truth. Homeless. Yes, the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Literally, what Trump is doing by making it illegal to be a van lifer, by making it illegal to be homeless, by making it illegal to do all these things, he's literally undermining the gospel. Let's just cut to the chase. Jesus told his disciples, people are like, Jesus was a businessman. His disciple was a this and a that and a tax collector. No, they weren't. They were former tax collectors. They quit their jobs to follow him. He said, sell everything and follow me. They were homeless. Now, if they had the luxury of being invited into somebody's home, they would do it. But we have to just understand that there were probably times when they didn't have anywhere to sleep and they just slept outside. They were homeless. Why do you think they were out in the fields gleaning the wheat? Why do you think there were huge assemblies of people camping out to follow Jesus and he was feeding them? Because they were homeless and didn't have any food. And now Trump has made that illegal. He is literally tearing down the gospel verse by verse. First thing he did was bring money back into the temple. Jesus threw the money tables out of the temple, and Trump brought it right back in by being, allowing campaigning in the churches and all this. Now he's going after the homeless, which a large portion of homeless people are on gospel ministry missions. Think about it, you guys. And I know some of you personally that do this. You are homeless in your car and your mission is ministry, and you just drive around and sleep in your car and talk to people about Jesus. Well, Trump says you can't do that anymore. Oh, well, Casey, do you want homeless people outside of your house camping? No, of course not. This is why our government should allow designated areas of wild, heck, even plant some fruit trees for the people. That would be a Christian thing to do, right? Here, you need to camp out? Okay, here's a park. Let's designate this park and that park in the city limits, but in the park, you can set up your tent. There are already trees and shade. If people want to come help you, they can bring things for you. We'll plant some fruit trees. Heck, we'll make a community garden for you. You guys maintain the garden. God would be proud if they did something like that, but they won't. Instead, you get people afraid of their stuff. My car's going to get broken into. I'm going to get ripped off. I don't like seeing homeless people. Well, I think you need to go back and pray because you would have been the person that rejected Jesus. Why do you think they were washing each other's feet, you guys? Because they were dirty and they were walking a lot. It just burns me up what is happening right now. A lot of these people are homeless veterans. And no, they shouldn't be put in camps. Open up the wild, open up God's earth, their inherited inheritance, a park. Yes, there should be some rules, but there shouldn't be fences around it. There shouldn't be, there shouldn't be garbage. It should be cleaned up. They would go by the same rules we all go by as citizens, except they get to sleep in their tent. If there are drugs, then they get cited for the drugs, not because they're homeless. Yes, I am preaching this more. It's rare that I get up here and preach, but I'm preaching today because the body of Christ needs to hear this. I'm hearing Christian people glad that Trump is sweeping away the homeless. And it burns me up, but guess what? This might be the reason why Jesus tells us when he returns that he never knew us. The least is the greatest is the least. And beware of how you treat people, because you may be in the company of angels. We're going to end the show with that. I love you guys. Please stand up for what's right. You do not want Jesus to say, I never knew you when he returns. That would be the worst thing ever. But I see so many Christians, all they care about is gold and Bitcoin and how Trump's going to help their 401ks. And being a Christian has nothing to do with any of that. Storing up gold and silver. This is what Christians are consumed with now. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment. Please share this video. Take care.